young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Talk Today is also brought to you by Mike's Builders. Call 923-0706. Mike Builders. They make it happen.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk Today.
What's on your mind, Cayman? If you're ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Discussing current events and local news, community spotlights, hot topics, listener stories, cultural and historical discussions, environmental issues, fun and lighthearted topics, guest interviews. Cayman, basically anything you want to talk about, we are ready to listen. Here's your guest host, Orrett Conner.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. I am your host, Orrett Conner, and we have something very interesting to talk about this afternoon in our first segment of the show. Hope that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable Easter. Those of you who are fortunate to be back at work, we trust that everything goes well with you. So, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. Very interesting things to talk about right here on Talk Today.
Talk Today is reminding you
to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037. Or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
And now, back to Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Just a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who are listening or watching. We're going to encourage you, if you have any questions or comments, please send them to our WhatsApp number and I can then transmit them on to our guest in the studio. Or WhatsApp number, not the toll-free number. Our WhatsApp number is 925-3261. We will be talking about World Intellectual Property Day. That conversation will take place with Ms. Catherine Dinspell-Powell, who is the Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Financial Services and Commerce. Also with us, Ms. Carli Nunes, who is the Intellectual Property Examiner at the Cayman Islands Intellectual Property Office. Also, Mr. Quentin Cregan, who is a partner at Maples and Calder. His area of expertise, I'll let him tell you about that. I'll just give you his name. We also have in the studio with us a Caymanian artist, Madame Nirosa. And we expect to have another guest in the studio. I won't call that guest's name until they arrive and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves as well. So with that, I want to say good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, OC, for having us, and good afternoon to everybody who's listening.
Okay, and we're going to go around the table and ask each of you to introduce yourselves, tell our listening and viewing audience what it is that you do.
Well, you did such a good job already, OC, but I am Catherine Dinspell-Powell. I'm a Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Financial Services and Commerce, and I am responsible for the Trade and Commerce Unit in the Ministry, and fortunate to have the Intellectual Properties Office as part of my portfolio. So I'm here this afternoon to support the team.
Okay.
And my name is Quentin Cregan. I'm a partner at Maples & Calder in the dispute resolution and insolvency team. I also look after the intellectual property practice at Maples & Calder, which helps, sorting out copyright, trademarks, patents, all those sorts of things.
Okay. And Mr. Cregan, we're going to ask you to just bring that mic a little closer to you.
Of course.
Okay. Ms. Nunes.
Hi, good afternoon again. So my name is Carli Nunes, and I am an examiner at Cayman Islands Intellectual Property Office. So I examine applications for final acceptance or refusal before we grant intellectual property rights.
Okay. Madam.
Oh, it's my turn. Hey guys, it's Madam Narosa. I am a young Caymanian artist. I also paint and dance, and I've been doing music for, well, I'm going to say pretty much all my life. You know, it's been the air I breathe. So, yes. Anything creative-wise is me, so.
Okay, and the man of the moment, Mr. Geary. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon. My sincerest apologies for being late. I have an electric vehicle, and they come with their own
issues, huh?
Let's just put it that way. So I am a local artist, and I also have a company. It's called 345 Live, and it essentially takes creatives from working a 9-to-5 job into full-time creativity, and it supports local businesses, consumers, and the creative in creating business transactions, so booking artists, publishing, the whole gambit, that's I'm the director of that company.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So now that everyone has been introduced, let's talk about, and we'll refer to it as IP, World IP Day. You want to kick it off, Ms. Kathryn?
Well, we were fortunate to be here last year to talk a little bit about World IP Day, so we're really glad that we had the opportunity to come again this year, and appreciate that. I'm going to hand over to Ms. Carli in a little bit. I'm not going to steal or hog the limelight here, because I'm not the IP expert. But it is annually observed as I think the world has become more aware of intellectual property and the importance of it. And it is certainly something that we want to be able to observe here in Cayman and bring more awareness of to the public, to creatives, and to everybody, to let them know why it's important to preserve and protect your intellectual property. So Ms. Carli, do you want to tell them just a little bit about what the theme of this year's observance is?
Sure. So, first, World IP Day was designated by World Intellectual Property Organization in 2000 as the day to educate and promote IP awareness and the impact that it has on society. It has been observed since 2001. And this year's theme is IP and music, feel the beat of IP. So basically, worldwide, all intellectual property offices, they take the opportunity whenever it's World IP Day or the week leading up to World IP Day to make sure they reach out to the public, to inform the public about intellectual property rights and the importance of protecting your intellectual property. That being the case, we have some activities that will be having, they're free, of course. We have a lunch and learn scheduled for Thursday at Cayman Island Center for Business Development. And that starts at 12. And the following day, on Friday, we're offering free legal services. So if anybody wants to come and get some advice, I would assume a lot of people would take advantage to find out what they need to know about intellectual property. That starts at 11 o'clock and it goes till about 3:30. So we have a couple attorneys who are volunteering their time. They've been most generous to give back to the public.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a commercial break. On the other side of the commercial break, we want to hear, from Madam Nirosa, who's a Caymanian artist, about the importance of protecting her. What should I say? Your whatever you create, your ensuring
masterpiece,
right. Yes. How important that is, and what steps have you taken to do so, and when you became aware of it. You've heard the World Intellectual Property Day has been celebrated since 2001, but the whole concept has been come along long before that, and that's where we're going to have Mr. Cregan come in as well to talk about the whole history of it and the legal ramifications as well. So with that, we'll take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
This This is Carlina McGall-Lumsden. Join me, your PPM candidate for Georgetown West, along with Craig Fester-Frederick of Georgetown South and our deputy leader, Kenneth Bryan of Georgetown Central. Tuesday, April the 22nd at the park in Windsor Park, 7 p.m. Come out and hear the issues that matter to you, the solutions we are ready to deliver. Let's keep moving forward with PPM.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. See the light again.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. For those of you who are just joining us, I want to let you know that the subject that we're talking about today is World Intellectual Property Day, which takes place on the 26th of April of this year as well. In the studio with me, we have Ms. Catherine Dinspell-Powell, who's the Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Financial Services and Commerce, and of course the Intellectual Property Office falls under that ministry. Also in the studio with us, Ms. Carli Nunes, who is the Intellectual Property Examiner at the office. Mr. Quentin Cregan, who is a partner at Maples and Calder. Madam Nirosa, a Caymanian artist, and Mr. James Geary, who is also a Caymanian artist, and for those of you who may not know it, competitor on Britain's Got Talent as well. So we... The voice. Okay, well, that's what they gave me here. But we'll change it to The Voice. Maybe you'll be on Britain's Got Talent as well. Okay, so what we want to talk about at this stage is what is IP, and then we're going to go over to Madame Narosa in relation to her knowledge of it. What has she done to secure her rights under the legislation as well? Ms. Carli.
Okay. So, IP, intellectual property, refers to creations of the mind, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, brands, artistic works. That's all covered by intellectual property. Patents, industrial designs, copyright, and trademarks as well fall under intellectual property. So trademarks basically can be a logo, a name, a color, a number or a letter that basically distinguishes one competitor's goods and services from that of another. And then you have patents, which is the inventions, refers to inventions. Copyright, which is literary, artistic works, books, films. Design rights, which basically protects the aesthetics of inventions. I covered everything? Yeah, I did.
Okay. So, Madam Narosa, you're a young artist who's grown up with sampling, and some of us may think there's nothing new to say musically, and we know that there's a lot. What are your views on this, and how did you prepare yourself to protect your creations?
I want to say that I think that a lot of us like nostalgia. And what I mean by that is if you hear something that's like from maybe the 80s or 90s, we're well aware of our legendary people like Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston. Those are my faves, by the way. And so if I was to hear a artist of my generation take a beat from it and maybe take a spin on it, then I'll be like, ooh, I kind of like this vibe. But the issue with that is it kind of takes away from thinking outside the box. And me as a young artist, I don't want to really fall under that. And I know that there's a high demand in the music industry. It's a lot, but I think it's our job as artists to still push the narrative. Like, you know, this is me, this is my niche, this is how you know that once you hear my name, this is what she does. This is her creation. It's authentic. That's the kind of thing that I think that all of us should be encouraged to do as artists on a whole, or as creatives on a whole. In regards to protecting my work, I would say that back in 2023, when I released my first song, Summer Fling, I actually had conversations with James Geary and Vashti Bodden, who really encouraged me to even get out there and put out original music. And at that time, I was doing a 9-to-5 job. So, you know, I was like, oh, I don't know. But once my program, it was a part of a program I was doing at the time at a law firm. Once that finished, I kind of said, you know, I could either go into another job or I can maybe, you know, take a leap of faith and do this full time. So I'm doing this now full time. But back in 2023, James Geary actually suggested I speak with Stuart Wilson, who had a lot of information on the whole IP and just protecting your works, how to register your songs if you want to stream and get paid for it, or how to put it in a on a site to keep record of when it was even registered. So in the event that someone's like, oh, that's mine, no. I know exactly when this was done. So that's kind of my history of how I came upon the whole IP.
And with the advancement in artificial intelligence, does it become even more challenging now for you?
You know, I'm going to say no, because one thing that I've noticed is it's become so easy for you to kind of hear when something is done by AI. It's, I don't know, it's a certain sound. It just don't sound right. It doesn't feel right. And I believe that in music, there comes frequencies. So you kind of can listen out like, oh, this really resonates with my soul. With AI, I can't. It's so hard. I'm like, nope, next. I need something fresh. I need to feel it. So, yeah.
Okay. Why is it important that we protect our IP rights, Mr. Cregan?
Look, I think there are a couple of answers. I mean, you know, obviously you ask the lawyer in the room and the first thing they say is money and control. But it also happens to be true. I mean, the other aspect, and certainly from the sort of copyright perspective, are what are called moral rights. And so, you know, if someone's taking your work, like Madame Nirosa's work, and suddenly started taking and sort of making money off it, you know, using it all across sort of dance clubs in the UK or the US or anywhere else, and you know, if she's not seeing any money from that, that's sort of grossly unfair. And so part of the registration process, certainly for some of the kind of copyright works to get sort of streaming rights, those sorts of things, can help you make sure you're getting that money that is being collected in those places. But protecting your rights more generally, it is essentially about being able to be the master of your works and being able to stop other people from misusing them and using them without your permission or in the way you'd like them to be used. And that's one of the interesting things about, for example, this different sort of area of copyright law called moral rights, where you can even sort of, you can make sure you can be attributed as the artist, like that's me, I wrote that, I did that thing, and you know, make sure people recognize that. But you can also object to what are called derogatory treatments of your works, which means if someone starts abusing your work, associating with things you don't want to be associated with, you can actually object to that and get that stopped as well. So there's a whole panoply of rights that sort of get attached to IP, as Ms. Carli was saying, that spread all the way from sort of music, writing, photographs, sculpture, you know, new inventions, all sorts of things.
So is that what Drake, the whole argument with Drake and what's his name is all about? What Mr. Cregan spoke about?
Essentially. I mean, it comes down to what that They Not Like Us song represented to Drake. And so he does have legal arguments to state that on the basis of the morality, you know, on the basis of what it represents. And if you look at it, that song was used in the Super Bowl. It was used as like a theme song. So sure, he can argue defamation and all those other things as well as what he's already arguing.
Okay.
And he has a legal argument.
Mm-hmm. So Madame Narosa spoke earlier about sounding you out, getting advice and stuff. you don't have to necessarily tell us what advice you gave her personally, but what advice would you give to creatives and innovators and entrepreneurs in general who need to consider protecting their work?
So I think the first thing is understanding the law. I think as a creative, it is your responsibility to understand how the law works in relation to your works, because then you understand your rights. As it's not a requirement to register copyright works in the Cayman Islands, right? It's still recommended to do so. So what I've done, my music's actually registered in the U.S., so I went through that process. And what I did, I partially did that process here in Cayman as well too, sending it to myself, or you can do it through courier or registered mail when you're sending it to yourself. That way you can prove, and it has to be unopened, right? That way you can prove that it is original, right? Because it comes down to people challenging it when it's time. It's authenticity, it's originality. So, one of the things that has happened for me, because I've not only done copyrights as it relates to my own music, I've done trademarks for my company 345 Live, because that company will operate in multiple Caribbean countries, right? And so, for example, the 345 Live here will become an 876 Live in Jamaica. It will become whatever the country code of the other country is. And it's something that I am, in talks to get in the room with CARICOM with, right? To build this cohesive network of creatives being brought to the professional forefront, right? Because CARICOM has a vested interest in that. And so from the trademark and the patent side, right, I'm an investor in a local company called Key Player, where we're creating a device that teaches you how to play chords quickly, right? So I've been able to be involved in all those processes. What I will say in specific to music, since we're focusing on IP and music in Cayman, is, and Stuart Wilson, I have to make mention of him as well too, because he does considerable work with JCAP, right, which is the Jamaica's organization for, copywriting, publishing music. So what I would say to artists is, in general, get your music copyrighted, get it registered, both here and in the U.S. And I'll say why to that in a second here. Register with a PRO, right? A pro company that will deal with your royalties, right? And that's where this next point comes to. So my music is registered in the U.S. and I'm registered with a company called BMI, right? They have ASCAP, BMI, CSAC in the UK. They have other companies in Jamaica. They have JCAP. And it allows you, when your music's being played, to receive royalty payments.
And we don't have any such entity here in Cayman?
We have not evolved to that level as yet. Currently, in the Cayman Islands, we just don't have the framework here, because what happens is when the music is played on the radio here, that's the same, what we call a blanket license, that would cover all the artists to be paid for their works.
Got you. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we want to hear some more about the office itself and what your numbers are like in terms of registration. Miss Carli or Miss Kathy, one of you will tell us about that as well. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I am Perlina Magal-Lumsden, and am committed to putting Georgetown West first. I will be accessible, hardworking, and always ready to serve you. As your PPM representative, I will fight to ease the cost of living, secure affordable housing, empower our young people, and improve care for our seniors, because you deserve the very best in Georgetown West. On April 30th, vote for strong, compassionate leadership. Vote Perlina Magal-Lumsden for Georgetown West.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Subway and Oreo has changed the dessert game. Introducing the Oreo footlong cookie, a full 12 inches of chocolatey, creamy goodness. It's big, it's bold, and it's here for a limited time. Perfect for sharing or not. We won't judge. Want it fast? Order ahead with the Subway Cayman Islands app for quick pickup and earn loyalty points, or get it delivered straight to your door with Bento and Let's Eat. Don't wait. Treat yourself today. The Oreo footlong cookie is calling your name. Subway. Eat fresh. Snack sweet.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit caymanairways.com/cargo.
Are you a creator or inventor? Want to legally protect your work? Be known for it? How about make money from it? Wouldn't that be awesome? Cayman is celebrating intellectual property this month, leading up to World Intellectual Property Day on April 26th. But don't wait to join the celebration. Learn how to get your patent, trademark, design, or copyright registered today by visiting the Cayman Islands Intellectual Property Office website at CIIPO.ky.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I hope you're ready for change, cause I know I am. Cayman ranking! Ah yeah! Foot! Born and raised, Cayman strong. Northward roots where I belong. Cayman ranking is the way to vote. Ranking! For Cayman ranking! Change we need. Ranking! For Cayman ranking! Change we need. Ranking is the medicine that Cayman needs right now. That Cayman needs right now. Ranking! Cayman ranking! Ranking! The future of Bontown West is in your hands. The time for change is now.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. We're talking about World IP Day, 26th of April of this year. And we're having discussions with representatives from the Intellectual Property Office here in the Cayman Islands, as well as the ministry. We have Madam Nirosa, who's a Caymanian artist, Mr. James Geary, who's also a Caymanian artist and not a competitor on Britain's Got Talent, but on The Voice instead. And we also have Mr. Quentin Cregan, and I left him for the last simply because I'm going to ask him a question now. And, you know, the Cayman Islands, we have advanced in so many areas, in particular financial services as well. And we've heard the discussion around the table here. Where do we need to go as far as, how much further do we need to go as far as intellectual property rights in the Cayman Islands, legislatively and otherwise?
Look, I think what particularly James was talking about are what are called performers' rights and collective licensing. And I think, you know, one thing to understand is that in Cayman we actually have a pretty robust intellectual property scheme, right? We have the Trademarks Act is very similar to the UK's Act. Patents that we have here are enforced exactly in the same way and designs as the UK. And similarly, the Copyright Act here is actually an extension of the English Act. And what that means is that insofar as we've got the sort of Europeanized elements that have gone into the Copyright Act, all those other aspects, it is up to date in the sense of it is up to date, it is modern, it is catching all the things it would catch in the US or the UK or otherwise, right? And a lot of this stuff is the phrase that's used in sort of legal circles. It's called harmonized. So if you go and create a work in one country, you've got sort of very similar rights in different countries, very similar outcomes, very similar controls. And under a thing that's been around since I should remember this before I started speaking, 1875, the thing called the Berne Convention, which is basically a group of countries get together, and it covers almost all of the world. If you sort of create one work in one country, once you've created the work, if it's a Berne member country, as Cayman is, you instantly have rights, like James was saying, in the US, in the UK, elsewhere. And so if I go and take my photograph, I write my song here, I publish it, as soon as it's created in Cayman, it is essentially, you get the rights in the US, you get the rights in the UK, you get the rights in Europe, all the rest, all the way around, because of this framework of international agreements, these harmonized agreements. But one of the things that James was talking about is whether we need to extend what's called Part 2 of the Copyright Designs and Patents Act from the UK out to Cayman. And that would be one of those things where, along with that, comes the necessity for what are called collecting societies, which is what JCAP, PRS, those kind of people are, who collect money in. But that will mean that sort of if you're playing public music here in Cayman, bars will need to start paying fees, all those kinds of things. And so I can see that there might be different views about...
well, I was going to ask whether or not that would be a good campaign manifesto for it, but maybe not.
Look, I'm not touching that. So I think one of those things is, if it's one of those things, if you walk into any... restaurant, cafe, whatever in London, you'll often see a little sticker in the window that says music licensed by PRS, and they actually send bills to these places. They have to actually pay fees for the music they're playing in the restaurant, because that's actually performing that music that's being played to all the guests there. If they've got sort of sports playing on the television, that's a sort of rebroadcast of something. It's being shown to a different audience than that was intended. So there's fees that go with that get paid back through collecting societies like James has been talking about. And that's the thing that we're talking about that hasn't yet been extended to Cayman. Now, many of the similar rights have been extended, and whether under sound recordings, literary works, or the rest, but it would require each individual artist to go and have sort of tap on someone's shoulder and saying, "Hang on, that's mine. You need to pay me for that," as opposed to having it be done through a collecting society.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, James?
I think it was done well. I think one of the things that come to my mind as a target of innovation, right? PRS is a collection agency, and artists here do have the ability to sign up with PRS in Cayman. We can. One of the things, though, that when you do sign up with the agencies, which we kind of talked about off air, is that you generally need to have bank accounts associated with them. So I'm signed up with BMI in the U.S., and I have an American account that it directly sends my money to. Now, they do send money through mail. They do. But I guess the question for me would be, or the thought would be, in terms of collecting some types of royalties, because as I was greatly corrected, Radio Cayman does pay royalties to PRS. It's just a collection from PRS. So I'm wondering how that would work out. We can't speak in terms of restaurants and stuff because Part 2 has not been extended to us. But in terms of the people who are following the rules, right? How do we end up getting people registered efficiently with accounts in the UK? Because, we have issues of reciprocity when it comes to having accounts to do any kind of business in the UK to Cayman. We get locked off. And that's a whole other area that we could discuss. How do we create that? And is there a way for the government to lobby for that until legislation perhaps takes a head towards Part 2 direction?
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's talk about the office and the numbers. What does it look like? What you plan on doing, and the events to take place for World IP Day as well. Miss Carli.
Well, CIIPO has been doing well. I'm pleased to report that. In 2023, at the end of 2023, we had 3,773 trademarks processed. I have to look at my numbers for the end of 2024, but it's reflecting 4,379. And as at March, the end of first quarter for 2025, We're looking at 1.2 million generated.
Okay.
Wait, can I get that one more time? Sorry.
1.2 million
Generated in
First quarter.
Fees?
first quarter, at the end of first quarter. That's
For
that.
the
That's
fees?
for that's for trademarks and patents, and everything else that falls under trademarks. Recordal of assignment, change of name, change of address.
How much money can we make in these?
And I think one of the things that I think it's important to note is that the office
Yes.
is like Miss Carli is an examiner,
Mhm.
and there's one other examiner. Like it
Right.
is a very small office, and then there's another person who sort of receives the applications when they come in. And then we were very fortunate to hire a young Caymanian very recently. In November of last year.
Right.
Okay.
So it is a very small team. You know, there's a team of 4 people. So there's not, 10, 12, 15 people responsible for doing all of the work and generating this type of income or revenue for the government. And it is, the examination process in and of itself is painstaking because of what best practice in examination requires. So, I think that's the behind the scenes piece that I wanted to shed a little bit of light on. And, I've been at, for example, the International Trademark Association conference and seen the level of respect that is given to representatives from the office here. That is also something that wouldn't be known in the local space. And I think that is just a real credit to the team. So I wanted to use this opportunity to hail them up for that too.
Paul, I'm going to bring it back to you for a headline news. I'm going to, some of our panelists here have deadlines. They have to be somewhere else, but I want to give everyone an opportunity for some closing comments as well. So I'm going to bring it to you for headline news and ask our guests to stay on for an extra 5 minutes or so that we can do a wrap up as well. Please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
We are Radio Cayman,
covering Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and Grand Cayman.
1 in a million. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. Mobile voting is underway in the Cayman Islands, with stations set up today for voters in Bodden Town East and West, Savannah, Newlands, and Prospect. Tomorrow, voters in West Bay and Georgetown North will have their turn. You can find the list of locations at elections.ky. In international headlines, Pope Francis will be laid to rest Saturday after lying in state for 3 days in St. Peter's Basilica, where the faithful are expected to flock to pay their respects to history's first Latin American pontiff. Cardinals met today in the Vatican Synod Hall to chart the next steps before a conclave begins to choose Francis' successor, as condolences pour in from around the world. According to the current norms, the conclave must begin between May 5th and the 10th. The Cardinals set the funeral for Saturday at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square. U.S. health officials are planning to phase out 8 petroleum-based artificial food colors. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and FDA Commissioner Marty Makary are spearheading the move, citing Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again agenda. While the FDA previously maintained the dyes were safe, health advocates have long raised concerns about potential neurobehavioral issues in children. The multi-year process will require food producers to find natural alternatives for many brightly colored products. This follows January's ban on Red 3 due to cancer concerns in animal studies. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the Salad Bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its Cayman BRAC customers that work to repair equipment issues continues. As the work occurs, customers may experience intermittent service interruptions throughout the day today, Tuesday, 22nd April. The Water Authority apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciates the public's understanding.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
The Bogue is the 8-kilometer or 4,000-foot channel from the western point on Cayman Brac to Point Asan on Little Cayman. On the 2nd of May, 1987, Jeff Miller crossed the Bogue in 2 hours and 36 minutes. He was later nominated for the Udovan Award for Most Adventurous Swim by the Marathon Swimmers Federation for a circumnavigation swim around St. John Island. Since then, many swimmers, including a former Cayman Islands governor, have continued to swim the Bogue, with subsequent charity events being created.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Carlina Magal-Lumsden. Join me, your PPM candidate for Georgetown West, along with Craig Fester-Frederick of Georgetown South and our deputy leader, Kenneth Bryan of Georgetown Central. Tuesday, April the 22nd at the park in Windsor Park, 7 p.m. Come out and hear the issues that matter to you, the solutions we are ready to deliver. Let's keep moving forward with PPM.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. See the light again.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. We're on the last leg of this segment and we're going to have Miss Carli Nunes, who's the Intellectual Property Examiner at the Cayman Islands Intellectual Property Office. We're going to have her give her closing comments because she has a tight schedule. She has to be somewhere else at 1 o'clock. Miss Carli.
Thank you. Like Miss Kat said, we're a small team. We're only 4 people. But we pride ourselves on our processing time for applications. Unlike a lot of other IPOs, our applications get processed in 3 to 6 months, really. And we've been commending on that several times when we attend, like Inter, for instance, and we meet with different IPOs. They always mention that we're really up to date in terms of processing applications. For the public, I would really want to encourage anybody that's sitting on a possible trademark or design right. If you think you have something that should be registered, that could be protected and could bring some possible revenue to you, maybe you should attend our IP clinic, which I'm going to explain a bit about in a few minutes. But try to get it registered. Look into legal advice in terms of getting your IP protected. And I want to invite you again, remind you of the activities we're having. The Lunch and Learn at Cayman Islands Center for Business Development. That's on Thursday, starting at 12. And Friday is a free intellectual property clinic. So anybody who has those ideas and needs some advice, you could look into attending the IP clinic. That starts at 11 o'clock and goes till 3:30. And the registration is on Eventbrite. Also, we ask you to visit our Instagram page, Cayman_intellectual_IPO.
Okay, Madam Narosa. Closing comments.
Um,
Any advice that you want to give to your peers out there, or
For the younger generation, if you are feeling uninspired, just remember that. Oh my days! No, don't remember that. Just remember that there are plenty of opportunities out there. And it's good to surround yourself with like-minded people who want to support your dreams and goals. But you, on a whole, if you believe in yourself that you can do something, that is the biggest motivation you could ever have. Because despite what other people think about it, you know that it's going to happen, and that's really all that matters. So just keep pushing through. You got this.
Mr. Geary.
My closing remarks are simple. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate with everyone around you. Don't get tied into the sinkhole of silos when it comes to your creativity. You partner with the government. You partner with the organizations around you that can help you. The legal entities, because Cayman is very good at coming together. I will say that for sure, and we always have for many years. So get together, ask questions, educate yourself, and seek just more than I think the average person is seeking, and you'll find the answers.
Okay, Mr. Cregan.
I suppose just 2 points. First of all, I was talking with this cat. One of the things that gets organised by the ministry and CIIPO is the Intellectual Property Working Group, which is a group from CIIPO and the ministry and a number of lawyers on island, which very proudly I'm a member of, that helps actually keep Cayman and its IP laws up to date and considers all these sort of bits and pieces. So I think if there are sort of bits and pieces that people want to understand more, if they get in touch with CIIPO and definitely brings it up to the IP working group, we can sort of look at that. But I think one of the parts that sort of come out of this is for people to be aware of what their rights are and what they attach to, and it can be in their music and music they write. It sort of comes through the window, as you know, is often the joke about copyright. Photos you take, art you draw, diaries, emails, things like that, things that are sort of expressive intellectual creativity.
What about phrases that you coin? Can you
look honestly? So the shortest case, so the case that we actually rely on is all about newspaper headlines, and so something as short as a newspaper headline has been afforded copyright protection. So it could be. And then, but certainly that's also where I don't want to wait till perhaps Carli sort of kick me under the table. We also get the trademark for it, so that's the other thing we could talk about.
Yeah.
Make sure we're paying the money over to CIIPO, but understand where those rights are and where they exist automatically and where you have to go get them registered, because there's so much available for young Caymanians and older Caymanians in the ways of protections, and Cayman is a part of a global system for this stuff, and those rights often can be used globally. And that's always good to bear in mind.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Catherine.
I think the thing, I'm not an expert by any means. This is very much a new subject matter for me because I've only been in the Trade and Commerce Unit for the last 4 years. But I think the thing about it is it spans culture and heritage, which is our past. And with things like AI, it takes us into the future. So, it's absolutely fascinating. And, for existing and young creatives that are coming up, and then for like our forefathers and preserving things that, stories that have been told for generations and how those have evolved, like IP just is central to everything, I think. And in the ministry, like, we're really fortunate because we have an opportunity to play a part in modernizing the legislative framework. Right now, we're sort of getting busy thinking about, where are some low-hanging fruit that we can potentially bring to the attention of the new administration when the government changes, and then, looking beyond that to some of the things that we were talking about earlier, like collection societies, so that we can make sure that creatives are really getting not just credit for their work, but are getting paid for their work. And so very fortunate to be working not just on behalf of the CIIPO team so that they can do the work that they need to do, but really on behalf of the people of the Cayman Islands and the public and the Cayman Islands in the global space, like Quentin was saying. So it's very rewarding, very humbling work, and work that I'm proud to be a part of.
And one quick question, it may have been covered. Why the theme that was chosen for this year? Is it because we're seeing more and more advancement in Cayman as far as music is concerned?
Actually, the theme was not chosen by us. It's chosen by World Intellectual Property Organization.
Got you.
So I don't know what's the idea behind it, but it certainly works for us this year. We have a lot of creators here. We have a lot of people in the music industry.
Okay, well, I want to wish you on April 26th, Happy World IP Day, and continue to encourage all of those creatives out there. Mr. Geary, you seem to have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and it doesn't appear as if you're hesitant or shy in any way in terms of sharing that with others as well. And thank you for all of your efforts also. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have an open mic for you if you want to call in, talk about the Easter weekend, whatever. If not, I'll have lots to talk about. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is David White. I absolutely love this community and I want the best for Georgetown West. That's why I'm backing Perlina McGaw Lumsden. She's smart, dependable, and always willing to help. I know Perlina will work hard and do what's right for the people of Georgetown West. On April the 30th, vote for Perlina McGaw Lumsden for Georgetown West.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. See the light again.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit CaymanAirways.com/cargo.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Cruise lines control how passengers spend their money.
from shopping on board to taking the lion's share of pre-booked tours. That means less business for Cayman's tour operators and retailers. A pier won't change that. Instead, it just gives cruise corporations a bigger stake in Cayman's tourism industry. If we want a stronger economy, we need better deals for Caymanians, not more power for cruise lines. Vote no on April 30th.
Cayman's economy should serve Caymanians first. Save our Cayman. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
The following is a paid political announcement by the Caymanian Community Party.
The PPM had their turn. What did we get? Exploding population, soaring cost of living, secret deals, and unfair immigration system. You're scraping by while they help their friends cash in. You tighten your belt while they blow money on vanity projects. Enough is enough. The Caymanian Community Party is different. We will make sure Caymanians have an opportunity in our own country. No side deals, no shady alliances. On April 30th, vote TCCP for a stronger, fairer Cayman.
That was a paid political message by the Caymanian Community Party.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. No guests in the studio now, so the phone lines are open. Our toll-free number, which is provided courtesy of Flow, that toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. Other numbers 949-8037, 949-6990, or WhatsApp number 925-3261. If you have anything that you want to talk about, any observations, also, if you have any questions or comments, we know that most of you haven't been on air, Radio Cayman, none of the talk shows since last week, Thursday. So there must be a lot of things on your mind as well. Meanwhile, we want to talk a little bit about the recent fatality on our roads. Again, it is, hit close to home simply because one of our fellow cyclists, not just a casual cyclist, but an individual who takes cycling seriously, was unfortunately injured. And I will share with you the police report in the event that you haven't heard it before. And firstly, let me convey our sincere condolences to the family of the deceased, as well as our sympathies for all of those families, involved. Actually, there were two cyclists, involved at the time as well. So we see that just before 6 a.m. on Monday, yesterday, the 21st of April, 911 Communication Center dispatched police and other emergency services to a report of a motor vehicle collision involving a cyclist. It was reported that the cyclist, along with a blue Subaru Forester, was traveling along Bordentown Road, both headed east, when the cyclist was struck by the Subaru Forester in the vicinity of Lake Destiny Drive. The driver of the vehicle then proceeded to flee the scene of the collision and then collided with a car that was parked off the roadway a short distance away in the vicinity of Lakeview Drive. That is before coming to a final stop in the concrete wall of a nearby residence. The driver then exited his vehicle and fled the second collision on foot. Police, along with emergency services and the Cayman Islands Fire Service, attended the location to assist with the collision. The cyclist was transported to the hospital by ambulance immediately following the collision, where he was being treated for serious and life-threatening injuries. The 39-year-old man who resided in Bordentown succumbed to his injuries and was later pronounced deceased. And the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service expressed their sincere condolences to the family of the deceased. Goes on to point out that the driver of the vehicle, a 33-year-old man of Bordentown, later attended the hospital by private vehicle with injuries that appeared to be the result of the collision. He was subsequently arrested by the police on suspicion of manslaughter, causing death by dangerous driving, and other traffic offenses concerning this incident. At the time of this press release, he remained in police custody as he continues to receive treatment at the hospital. And, of course, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, they're investigating it. Anonymous tips can be provided directly to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service via their confidential tip line, which is 949-7777, or you can go onto their website as well. And they're encouraging you to provide as much information as possible that you may have. Now, the whole issue of road safety has been highlighted over and over and over. We see some improvements on our roads. We see the National Roads Authority taking proactive steps, but sometimes the whole rule of unintended consequences happens. Not to say that this is the case in this particular area, because I should first point out that the area where this accident occurred was just recently paved, because the road surface was terrible. So it was recently paved. On Sunday, when we were cycling in that area, there were no markers, no lines on the road yet, and that is understood, but at least the surface was better. Now, talking about the unintended consequences, in some areas, for instance, going through the Savannah area, because of the dividers that now are in the center of the road, the lanes have become much smaller, and even those lanes where they have tried to put in those roads where they have tried to put in bike lanes as well, it means that the driving area for vehicles is smaller, as well. Not to mention the reflectors that are placed in such a way that it makes it very difficult for cyclists to cross over them. But hopefully, we know that cyclists now have the advantage of lights as well as cameras in those lights. And hopefully the incident, has been recorded. Of course, it doesn't help any in terms of anything that can be done for the deceased. But a true picture, and pardon the pun, can be developed in terms of what actually occurred. It is unfortunate that the driver chose not to stop if they were aware of the fact that they hit someone. Having hit two cyclists, you would really have to be out of your elements not to know that you had hit someone as well. But our roads, we need to continue to advocate, to promote more, better road safety here in the Cayman Islands. Vehicle drivers also have to be more respectful of pedestrians as well as cyclists. I know some of you drivers out there will say the exact opposite and say, cyclists need to be more respectful of vehicles on our roads and drivers. And we do know that there are some of you who actually believe that cyclists do not belong on our roads. But we have equal rights on the roads. We have a responsibility to observe all of the rules of the road, as well. So the whole issue and the adage that we have, share the road, is so appropriate. We all need to share the road. So talking a little bit more about this Sunday morning, as I mentioned earlier, the anywhere between, where is it? Beach Bay. Between Beach Bay and before you get to Agricola Drive, actually, past Wilty Drive going west, further down, that is where the lanes have been designated. The reflectors are on the road as well, and the lanes are particularly narrow. So cars have a tendency to come real close to you. But drivers who are considerate and drivers who are certainly alert and aware of the rules of the road will either wait behind the cyclist until it is clear to cross. And when they do cross, a cyclist or a group of cyclists, they go as wide as they possibly can to avoid the cyclists. So Sunday morning, riding back home, several cars crossing after we crossed Beach Bay. And remember, now I pointed out that the lanes there are pretty narrow, so we understand that the reflectors are there for cars. If cars go wide to avoid you, they're going to run over those reflectors, and that can be a little bit irritating as well. But we had several cars cross us, including a marked Royal Cayman Islands Police Service vehicle. And you wouldn't guess, but by now, the way I'm framing it, I'm sure that you would guess which of those vehicles came the closest to us. Which vehicle did not go wide, but came a matter of, I would say, 24 inches from us, and we were hugging the left side of the road. None other than the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service vehicle, being driven by a Royal Cayman Islands Police Service officer. What does that tell me? That tells me that there are some drivers in the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service who need to be retested, who need to be briefed on the rules of the road and the protocols, the safety protocols to be observed when you are crossing cyclists on the road. And there is no one better to know that cyclists have the same legal rights on the road as vehicles. No one should know that better than a member of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. So, I'm not sure whether or not that vehicle was from the Bordentown Police Station or where, but you may want, Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, you may want to check where one of your vehicles was traveling after 9 o'clock on Sunday morning heading west in the vicinity of before you approach Wilty Drive, because that officer didn't know any more than the man on the moon about driving and the proper way to cross other moving objects that are on the road. In this particular case, how to properly cross cyclists on the road. The irony of it is that one of those cyclists was also a serving Royal Cayman Islands police officer. So, again, I'm giving Royal Cayman Islands Police Service a little hell this morning because they need to set the example when it comes to driving on our roads, and I am not particularly convinced that they are. With that, we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit CaymanAirways.com/cargo.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road and in Bordentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road or Bordentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Building a cruise pier means years of construction, traffic congestion, business closures, and lost jobs. And for what? A project that mainly benefits the cruise lines? Local businesses, tour operators, and family-run shops will feel the impact long before any promised gains materialize. Why should Cayman take on the risk while cruise companies take the reward? Vote no on April 30th.
Caymanians deserve better. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage invites you to take part in Emancipation Day 2025, a week of meaningful events happening May 2nd through May 11th across the Cayman Islands. This year's theme, Unity, Strengthening Our Legacy, is a call for reflection, pride, and community, from cultural celebrations and historic tributes to church services and panel discussions. There's something for everyone. Don't miss the Emancipation Day commemoration on Monday, May 5th, and be a part of this important moment in our national story. Follow at MYSCH_Cayman on Instagram or visit www.gov.ky/YSCH for the full schedule. Let's honor our past and shape our future together.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Crystal Gomez Wilson, and I'm running to represent Prospect with the PPM, the only team with the heart, the plans, and the strength to lead. I'm a mother, a wife, and a Caymanian who loves this country deeply. I'm running because our children deserve better. They deserve a future built on compassion, stability, and real leadership. On April 30th, vote someone who cares. Vote Crystal Gomez Wilson. Vote PPM for our kids and for our future.
The following is a paid political broadcast. The views, information, or opinions expressed in this forum are solely those of the participants of this event and do not represent the views of the management and staff of Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me, and I should point out to our listening and viewing audience that this is a paid-for interview. So if you have any questions or comments, please send them into our WhatsApp number and I will transmit them on to our guests. The WhatsApp number 925-3261. In the studio with me, we have the leader of the People's Progressive Movement, Mr. Honorable Geary Hew, leader of the opposition, since, and I can refer to him as such since Parliament is still, not in session, but still alive and well, in the event that needs to be recalled. And of course, also in the studio with me, the incumbent candidate for the constituency of Georgetown East, Mr. Roy McTaggart. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon, and thank you, O.C. Good to be back on. A little different from what we've been doing for the last 4 years, but want to say a special good afternoon to everyone on all three islands, and in particular the constituents of Georgetown North. And thank you for having us.
And my greetings as well to OC. It's good to be back with you. I had to take a good look at my watch because I'm always here
in the morning
at about 8:15, 8:30 in the morning, not 1:30 in the afternoon. But delighted to be here with you for this next hour. Say a good afternoon as well to all the people of the Cayman Islands who are listening in, but especially to my constituents from Georgetown East, where I will be this evening in the Randike area holding a public meeting, and invite the constituents there to join me at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so we're 8 days away from election day. I believe that mobile voting is taking place today. Started today, as well. So, how has the campaign been going so far, and how many events do you have left?
Oh, good question. We are having, and I'll have somebody who's listening send me through the schedule, but we are having a meeting each night this week, right up until Saturday. And then, of course, on Tuesday night, we will be having our final rally, our big rally, at the Compass Green on Tuesday evening on the eve of the election.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, we will be basically busy right up every night upset for Sunday, and then Monday with our big meeting, preparing for a big meeting on the Tuesday night. So yeah, it's down to the final, down to the stretch now. And I think we are certainly in in a fantastic position with the momentum behind us, and we've just been so overwhelmed and happy with the response we've been getting from the people of the Cayman Islands. Our meetings have been very well attended, and the enthusiasm that we're feeling from the crowd is what keeps us going, gets us up and going the next day, day after day. So we'll be very happy, OC, with what we've seen so far. We have, had, oh gosh, almost every evening of the week meetings. I would bet we were in at least 24 meetings or more, maybe. I was doing it in 1 week. I did seven meetings in 1 week, so I was doubling up in the evenings. But the crowds have been there. The supporters have been enthusiastic. They've been encouraging us, and we just can't say how happy we are with the response we're getting, and just want to thank them all for their continued support.
Okay, and your manifesto is out there, and I believe there was something referred to as a manifesto as well. Those are all out?
Yep, most of the candidates have out their manifestos, which are basically a constituency based document, and then of course our manifesto is out there, all 42 pages of it, and we receive a tremendous amount of feedback on that as well, and compliments on it. A few people have ran some AI analysis on the 3 manifestos. They've been quite interesting, and even those have come back quite complimentary to the details that are in our manifesto. And someone said, listen, last night someone gave me a call and he said, I got your manifesto. It's delivered by my candidate, Ms. Donna Bush, and or your candidate in my constituency, Ms. Donna Bush. And he said, I was pleased that a lot of the concerns we had, and she spoke with us, that they were in your manifesto. He said, what I really liked about your manifesto was the first few pages. It had what the issues are, and then it had a summary of the solutions, and then if you wanted to, you skip further down the manifesto to go to the more details on the solutions. So we've received a lot of feedback from the manifesto. It's all been positive.
Yeah, but the one comment that I have received from several people in the community is just how reasonable the policies are, that they totally achievable, and that was a feeling that these are very easy to put into effect and to achieve the outcomes that we're looking to. So I found that extremely positive, getting that kind of feedback from constituents with it. So all in all, I think the rollout of the manifesto has been very, very successful for us. Yeah. And we have seen, I think, in the meetings that we are having, we see the numbers building every time, OC. Best way I can describe it, just seems to be a wave that's moving.
Yeah.
And, we want to keep it rolling in that way, coming in that way, and then it crescendo on the Tuesday night.
Okay.
And
there was a lot of anticipation. We were the first to launch a manifesto. There were a few, or there was at least one attempt to launch some bullet points by one of the parties after we launched our manifesto. But not only did we launch our manifesto in hard copy with illustrations, etc., but we also did it electronically. And I think a lot of people appreciated that, especially the elderly people, making sure that we get, manifestos delivered, those that we could when we had them, to the elderly, so that they had an opportunity to, don't have to navigate online and stuff like that. So, again, we feel like the other manifestos that came out were fairly reactionary, and not as detailed as ours are, and it's maybe that's expected because we have so many years of experience in doing this. And I said to you before when we would chat about the manifestos, if you remember me, I said this manifesto has been a work in progress basically for 12 years. So it started tracking what we were doing and what we set out to do from 2013, and kept updating, removing the things that we did right into 2021. And then what we decided to do was to continue tracking, even though it wasn't progress on what we were doing. We added to that document or the goals that we could identify from the PAC government at the time, but also everything that we brought as our objectives from the opposition, all of our private member motions, things we discussed And we continue to track those, not only track what we did, what we proposed, but what were the outcomes. And so that is why our manifesto is so detailed, because we have been tracking everything for the last several periods, election periods, and updating that document as we went along. Changing as times have changed in the last 12 years. We're a totally different country than we were 12 years ago. Our needs are different now. Our issues are different. Our victories are and successes are different. So that document had been updated over those years, and the final product was what we presented in that 42-page beautiful manifesto.
Okay. So while you have been on the offensive in terms of pushing your agenda and your manifesto and your meetings, you've also had to respond, or chose to respond to the pre-election economic and financial update and the comments that have been made. And I see where a press release was issued yesterday. Fact check, a crisis of lies. Would you care to talk about that?
Yeah, certainly. I'm gonna just say that we felt that whilst we feel that we have been controlling the narrative and putting out our focusing on what our goals and objectives are for the next 4 years, and there's been a lot of rhetoric from the other two parties. We felt that this one we wanted to respond to, because this one is a situation where they have chosen to ignore the facts. I mean, these are facts that are there, and they simply chose to ignore them in certain instances and in certain utterances for those individuals who should know better. I felt they were a little bit reckless in the comments that they made. And, the people out there deserve to know the truth, and they have a right to make informed decisions on these sorts of things. And the concern we had is that if we allow this rhetoric to get out there, as they say, if you repeat a lie enough times, people start to believe it. And so this is something that we felt we should respond to, something that we have the man himself that's able to respond to that, Mr. Roy McTaggart, the former Minister of Finance, and we have the details. So I'm going to defer it on to Mr. McTaggart to address the details of it.
Certainly. Mr. McTaggart.
Thank you, OC. Let me put it this way. The untruth that is being spread about emanates from, I think, both the other parties. And what they have been saying is that the deficit or projected deficit that's in the pre-election financial update is the result and the responsibility of the PPM. Well, not everyone appreciates this fact, because it's amazing, OC, some people still think that we are still in power and have voiced it. And the truth of the matter is we have not been in power for 4 years. And we have no role and had no role in the preparation of government's spending budgets over the last 4 years. So 2 budget cycles, no responsibility for or involvement in what went into the budget. Anyone trying to blame the PPM for a projected shortfall in the budget for the purpose of influencing voters, in my mind, really, they ought to hang their head in shame, because that is just so unsavory to me. And it doesn't necessarily affect those seasoned voters. Where I worry about it is that there are several thousand new voters. And if people don't know who is in power and who isn't, and who is responsible, they can start to believe these things quite easily, like what, Joey was just saying a few minutes ago. You repeat something often enough, people will start to believe it. So that is what we are combating and have had to combat. So really what I'd like to do is just state the facts. And that is, when we demitted office in mid-April 2021, We left the PACT government with a strong, growing economy that was rebounding from COVID. And in that term as well, the then Premier, Honourable Wayne Panton, did say that when we demitted office, that we left the country in the finances in good stead. And we do believe that sincerely. Debt was down to it's a multi-decade low. I remember those words distinctly because I said it. We were at a multi-decade low in that at the time in April, the deficit, the debt of the country was $248 million. By the end of 2021, it was at $220 million. And those two COVID years were the only, 2021 and 22, were the only 2 years that the government did not record a surplus since it was elected in 2013. In fact, the PPM grew the surplus every year from $56 million in 2013 to $143 million by 2019. In 2018, it was actually higher than that. It was like 50 million, give or take. So it was quite, was quite an achievement, but something that we set out to accomplish because it was one of the policies that we employed when that was that we would always run budgets that generated significant surpluses. Mind you, we did not define what significant was, but, the country had never seen $150 million or $140 million surpluses ever in its history. And so that was a remarkable achievement. So you have 2021 and 2022 when we did have deficits because of COVID. But 2023, when we rebounded back to a surplus, the surpluses were much smaller. And for 2023, it was like 50 some odd million. 2024, I think they're looking at somewhere in the 40 millions bracket for surpluses for the year, which are but a fraction of what we had achieved. And, it's, to me, it's an act of desperation when people turn around and try to say that you are responsible for their failings. And it's something I think that we have to stand firmly against because it does have ramifications when people start to embrace it. And when those that are perpetrating the lie start to believe it themselves. So
now in terms other than being compliant and with the FFR, what are can you speak to some of the advantages of having a surplus budget as opposed to deficit? What does it allow for the government to do?
The major thing that it allows the government to do, OC, is that it can undertake a number of the capital projects so that you don't, every time you want to do a project, build a school or whatever it might be, you don't have to go back to borrow money in order to do it. It also gives you the opportunity to put some money away for rainy days keep them isolated and help you keep a surpluses to fund situations like you had, like another pandemic, should it ever occur, God forbid. So those are two things that you can do with the surplus. You can also use it to pay down debt ahead of schedule. And believe me, in those 8-year periods that we had the government, we did it. And what we did, if I remember it correctly, I know I am right in saying this, that we had looked at all of the loans that the government had, and every situation where it was a loan that there were no penalties to prepay the loan, we went ahead and we did it. And banks didn't like it, but boy, I tell you what, I felt really good about it when we started seeing the interest expense that we were paying every month coming down. And that's the other thing you benefit from when you reduce your expenses, your interest expense. you have that money that you can use for other operational items to fund, the demands and for services from the public.
And unlike, if you have a 2-year budget, the money spent after those 2 years, that is it. But if you have accumulated a surplus, that surplus is there, always available for the government.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it can...
Unlike the approved funds.
Yes. All you need to do is seek approval from the LA, the Parliament, to use those funds. But yeah, that is a good observation.
Yeah, it was also important to know that the performance of the performance of the government over those years leading up to COVID was a reason that we were able to negotiate and get that facility that we were in case we needed it after COVID. We had no issue getting that because of our rating. So overall. It was a perfect example of what I talk about, saving for a rainy day. But yeah, we were able to put those surpluses together. We were able to maintain, what was it? What was the rating we had?
A AA3.
AA3 rating. And then we were able to get a facility in case we needed it during COVID, which we felt we didn't need it. We were able to get through the tough periods on our cash reserves. We made some cuts in some of the things we were doing. Some we couldn't do because of the lockdown. But then once things opened back up in financial services, we saw the funds coming back in. We felt strongly that we didn't need to draw down on that facility. So all of that, I say that because it was all of the fiscal prudence that we showed over those 7 years leading up to COVID that put us in that strong position that we could be one of the first in the world to close our borders and protect the lives of our people because we had that financial confidence to do that. When we looked at it, can we survive if this thing goes 3 or 6 months? Yes, we can. If it goes longer than that, what do we need to do? We need to put in place financing that if we need it, we can draw down on that. But all of those decisions we were able to make because we had the confidence based on our financial position as a country. And ultimately, that saved lives for us.
Okay. We're going to go to our headline news at 2 o'clock. When we return, one of our listeners has some concerns about the elderly, and they have written and said, please ask if they get back in office, would they be in favor of having a line for seniors in places like the banks, pharmacies, especially the Health Services Authority, pharmacy, immigration, NAU, etc., other places where seniors are still able to help themselves. So they're wanting to know whether or not you will be addressing the issues of seniors in those areas where it's not already addressed. I believe there are some banks that may have some. I know, for instance, a credit union does have a line for seniors as well. But there are others. So when we return, we will ask you to respond to that writer's comments as well. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Tis 6.
Covering Grand Cayman, no Cayman, on right. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. The National Trust for the Cayman Islands issues a statement today indicating it remains opposed to developing cruise berthing infrastructure. That is one of the referendum questions on the April 30th ballot. The Trust expressed concern on the lack of substance and specifics in the question, which asks whether the islands should develop cruise berthing infrastructure without providing information on design, location, etc. Along with environmental concerns, the Trust also says the islands are already at carrying capacity and sees no economic benefit to building the piers. In international headlines, gunmen shot and killed at least 20 tourists at a resort in Indian-controlled Kashmir in what appeared to be a major shift in the regional conflict in which tourists have largely been spared. Police described the incident as a terror attack and blamed militants fighting against Indian rule. Omar Abdullah, the region's top elected official, wrote on social media the attack is much larger than anything, quote, we've seen directed at civilians in recent years. 2 senior police officers said at least 4 gunmen, whom they described as militants, fired at dozens of tourists from close range. The officers said at least 3 dozen others were injured, many in serious condition. The U.S. and global economies will likely slow significantly in the wake of President Donald Trump's tariffs and the uncertainty they have created. That, according to the International Monetary Fund today, the IMF says the global economy will grow just 2.8% this year, down from its forecast in January of 3.3%, according to its latest World Economic Outlook. In 2026, global growth is projected to be at 3%, also below its previous 3.3% estimate. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, my name is Carol Braggs, a resident of Prospect for the past 48 years. It is my honor to endorse Crystal as our next Prospect representative. Vote number 1 on your ballot paper. Vote for Crystal Gomez-Wilson, a leader that will listen, act, and always be there for our Prospect community and our families. Thank you, and God bless you all.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. See the light again.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Reminding our listening and viewing audience that we have in the studio with us 2 incumbent members of the People's Progressive Movement. The leader of the Progressives, Mr. Joey Hew, who is seeking to defend his seat for Georgetown North, and Mr. Roy McTaggart, who's seeking to defend his seat in Georgetown East. So before we went to the break, one of our listeners wanted to know about services for the elderly, especially designated lines at various locations for elderly persons.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see. Yeah, we certainly have a section of our manifesto speaking to, some of the challenges that we feel our elderly folks are facing.
Mm-hmm.
But that one is an easy one. I think it's time for an update on the elderly persons policy, but maybe it's time to look at that, implementing some of those policy matters into acts, whether it's under current relevant acts or creating a new act to ensure that, because there's a lot of other issues I won't get into today that in our constituency offices and as we go about in our constituency, we find situations where we feel that elderly persons may be taken advantage of, or they're no longer in a position to take care of themselves. And quite often it's difficult to find what agency you would go through. I know that one of the agencies had a workshop for our assistants in the constituents offices and went through a workshop and presented some of those things, which was good. it's a good start. But I think when you've heard me in here talking about homeless persons and all these, there's no one agency. You have to call the police, and they will say, well, I can only do this. You might even need to call immigration, and you call Children Family Services, and then they put you on to someone else, a MASH unit. There's no one place you can call and report something that you feel confident that they will follow up on that. And I think with the elderly, we certainly need to ensure that we have that one place that if somebody calls in something, it doesn't just fall between the cracks or get passed around in different departments without anyone actually actioning it. But that one is one that we support for certain. We were the government that carried out the elderly persons policy. And we hope to continue to work in that area. Of course, we always congratulate her. We always offer a word of thanks to Miss Lucille for her dedication in that area, Miss Lucille Seymour, and the work that she does there. So, just to say, OC, we were chatting about some of the misinformation out there, and the other things that we've also heard being uttered by our opponents, and we'll accept that we're a good target to aim at, because we seem to be the team to beat, so we were not at all surprised. But even just during the chamber debates, when it was a leadership debate, it became very obvious to everyone out there that the other two parties were coordinated in attacking myself and the PPM. And then they went on in the days after releasing press releases or videos, social media videos, etc. So I'll take them one at a time. For Mr. Ebanks, the leader of the TCCP, Andre Ebanks, and his team, which includes 2 former ministers and a former premier. Is it 2 or 3 former ministers? Well, no, he's a minister. So himself was a deputy premier, was a minister, deputy premier, and 2 former ministers and a parliamentary secretary. For them to say that the current financial situation in the country had nothing to do with them is false. How can you say that? You were there and voted for 2 budgets, 2 consecutive budgets. You supported them in the chamber debates. I actually even read a piece out of the official Hansards from Parliament, where Mr. Ebanks congratulated the Premier in presenting the budget. So, for him and Mr. Panton, who was a Premier of the PAC government, who after his 2 years, as you heard from Mr. McTaggart, just after 2 years in power, basically doubled the debt of the country to $450 million from 220, I think it was then. Yeah.
At the end of 2021.
At 2021. So he doubled the debt of the country and is now on a team, and his leader is saying that the reasons, even though, as Mr. McTaggart said, he previously complimented us in saying that when he took office as a premier, he found the finances of the country in good stead. And now he's on a team and out there saying that the reason the country is in the financial position it's in is because of the opposition, because of the PPM. I find that very difficult to understand. And then for the leader to sit there and say that when he was a minister in the first budget they had, and then he was deputy premier in their second budget. And they spent a year there before demitting or quitting their office 6 months before the elections. Right? They didn't even know when the elections were going to be. They quit the office, I suppose, believing that there would be a snap election, an early election. But the fact remains is that you were a part of that budget process. It's the same budget that was passed a year and a half ago, that you were deputy premier of that government. And you and your colleagues at that time made up 3 ministers within the government out of 9. So that's a huge block. That is a very big block when you have 1/3 of the cabinet or one group. And then your running mate, Mr. Panton, was a former premier of the last budget. So you had one person was a premier during the first budget, and a second person that was deputy premier in the second budget. But now we're saying that the financial position of the country is the PPM's fault. We also had, it was said to me during the debate that somehow we were controlling the government from the opposition. There's only 5 of us in the opposition because Sir Alden was Speaker for a couple of years, or for a year and change. So somehow the 5 of us in the opposition were controlling the government budget, which we had real concerns with. We spoke about those concerns. Mr. McTaggart addressed them in detail. However, we're facing a situation where we're coming to the end of the financial year, and if a budget was not passed, we were talking about people not being paid and government shutting down, basically. So, it was not a good situation for the country, and the reason we ended up in that situation was because 3 ministers and another member of the government quit. So to say that we were controlling it from the opposition is just ludicrous. I mean, that will work, and if you say it enough times, people out there that don't understand the difference between cabinet, the government, and the opposition may rightfully believe that we were the ones that put that budget in place. Mm-hmm. Where the record shows where we had our concerns about the budget, and we voiced those. However, we had to pass that budget. Our 5 votes wouldn't have mattered anyhow, because none of them voted against it. Mm-hmm. They supported it unanimously.
Mm-hmm. How close did the country really come to early elections, and what would have been the ramifications of that hadn't your party decided to support the government? Why don't we take the commercial break, and then we can come back with that, because we'll only have about a minute and a half to do so. Paul, I'm going to throw it back to you now, folks. Please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
Hungry? Need Subway any time of the day?
Yeah.
We've got you covered. Subway at Anderson Square, Centennial Towers, and Countryside Shopping Village is open 24/7, serving up fresh, delicious subs anytime you need them. And for your weekend cravings, West Shore Center is also open 24 hours on Friday nights and until 1 a.m. on Saturdays, because it's never too late for a great meal. Skip the line and order ahead with the Subway Cayman Islands app, or get your favorites delivered straight to your door with Bento and Let's Eat. Fresh, fast, and always here when you need us. Subway. Eat fresh.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit caymanairways.com/cargo.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Cayman's cruise industry can thrive without a peer. Instead of handing cruise lines more power, we should focus on better visitor experiences, fairer deals for local businesses, and smarter tourism investments. Many destinations are standing up for their local economies. So can we. Let's strengthen our cruise industry without giving up control. Vote no on April 30th.
Let's invest in what works. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this afternoon. Talk Today, sorry. Thank you, Paul. Welcome back to Talk Today. We're in the last leg of the show this afternoon with the leader of the People's Progressive Movement, Honorable Joey Hew, and also he's the incumbent seeking to defend his seat in the constituency of Georgetown North, as well as incumbent Member of Parliament, Mr. Orrett McTaggart, seeking to defend his seat in Georgetown East. I think you wanted to finish your train of thought before we come on to the question.
Before the break, we were talking about how that in recent times the leader of the TCCP has been trying to separate himself and his members. In total, 5 of which were a part of the PAC government, played a huge role in the PAC government with Mr. Panton being premier, and then 4 of which played a huge part in the UPM government with Mr. Andre Banks being the deputy premier. But yet they're saying that in both instances, one budget was passed under Mr. Panton and one budget was passed under Mr. Ebanks as deputy premier. But they're trying to say now that the 6 members of the opposition are the reason, and the PPM are the reason for the financial state the country is in. Then we have the National Party, who has been fixed on this thing that the PPM controlled the last government. So somehow the 6 of us controlled the PAC government and the UPM government that are responsible for the budget. No matter what you think about the budget, they're responsible for the 2 budgets that we've had. One budget was done under the PAC government, one budget was done under the UPM government. In both of those instances, the official opposition had 6 votes in the first budget and only 5 votes in the second budget because Sir Alden had become the speaker. So simple mathematics will say to you that when it was a PAC government, they had 13 people and we had 6. When it became the UPM, they had 12 people, and we only had 6. We had 5 then. So I don't understand how we were controlling the government when you look at those numbers. The majority rules, and we were sitting in the opposition. Now, the criticism is that 3 members of the first PAC government and the UPM government have joined the Progressives, the PPM. And that is the reason we're responsible for the financial state of the country. Now, that is 3, right? There were 9 other members of that party that are independents or have retired. But 5 of them, of the remainders, are a part of the CCP. So how can us that took 3 members be responsible for all that has happened in the last 4 years? Important to note that the independents that are out there that are not a part of the PPM or the TCCP or the National Party, I have made it clear. We have 13 candidates. We have declared our hand, including the 3 incumbents that were a part of the former government. I can tell you that those other 2 parties have not declared their hands, because I know they do not believe that they're going to win all of their seats. In the TCCP case, they would have to win all 10. Is it 10 or 11 there?
I think it's
10. They'd have to win all 10, right? The probabilities of that are very slim. So they have to tell the country who are they going to work with if all 10 of their candidates don't win. And the same goes for the National Party with 11. Slim possibility that all of them are going to win. The party with the best chance of winning any form of majority is the 13 members of the PPM. But we have declared who it is we are willing to work with and had them join us. They need to tell the country who are they going to work with. If all of their candidates, and I mean all of their candidates, are not elected, who are they going to work with?
Okay, and the other question was, how close did the country come to early elections?
Based on the four members of the
quitting the cabinet. Yes.
Quitting the cabinet. 3 members quitting cabinet and 1 quitting.
And the role that your party then played in ensuring that we didn't have early elections.
It was a complete shock to everyone. And as far as I know, they literally left under the cover of night. It was meeting ended one night. They went back, packed up their offices, and they never returned. And they did a press conference the next morning, and that was it. So they literally left under the cover of darkness. That left the country with a minority government. So they have no majority. They cannot bring legislation, nothing. They can't do anything because they're a minority. It then came down to the governor having to make a decision about the future of the country. Do we have a snap election, or will there be some sort of coalition between the minority government and others in the opposition, including ourselves? And then the third option was, would the official opposition support a minority government and allow them to come to Parliament as long as it was not contentious legislation? After speaking with the Premier Juliana O'Connor Conley, and then Her Excellency the Governor, and Mr. Andre Ebanks, it was made clear to me that it would be a huge risk on our financial services and the budget, because there were things that needed to come to Parliament for revenue for the budget going forward. And in fact, one of the revenue makers that was proposed from financial services did not actually even make it. So that actually adds to the lack of revenue going forward. But let's part that. So I spoke to everyone involved. It became very clear that there had to be at least one more meeting of Parliament before the end of the year to satisfy requirements from the European Union, as well as to pass legislation for revenue enhancing matters. And so we spoke to the governor and we said, Governor, we understand this is a situation. If considering that, A, considering B, that if there is an early election, that all persons who had registered after October 1st would not be able to vote because the 6-month period had not passed. So you're talking about, and there were we all had major register to vote campaigns, including the government. So we would have disenfranchised all of those people. Ended up being 2,500 in total. At the end of it, they would not have been able to vote in the election, and or if there was going to be a referendum in a referendum. There would not have been a referendum either. So there'd be no referendum if we had an early election, and there would be no, because the referendum law hadn't come to passing yet, and there would be all of the persons registered after October 1st would be disenfranchised and not allowed to vote. How many 18-year-olds that were just excited to be first time voting and would be disenfranchised from that? On top of that, OC, the elections would have fell smack dab in the middle of Christmas and New Year's. And we felt that it was unfair to the country. We felt that it was a blow to democracy to have an election campaign during Christmas when people are distracted, focused on the Christmas. It has become a stressful enough time than to throw a campaign into the middle of it. And so for those reasons, we committed to the governor, Her Excellency the Governor, that we would support the minority government for important legislation to come to Parliament. And then she could then move forward and work with the elections office to set the earliest opportunity to have the elections without disenfranchising the new voters. And I think when they looked at it, OC, the timing would have either put it last week, with Wednesday being a holiday and then Good Friday happening, or this week with Monday being a holiday, then going to work Tuesday, and then Wednesday being elections day, another holiday. And so if they moved it to next week, it also gave them enough time to add another 15 days on for voter registration. And I understand, I was not officially informed, but I understand that that's how we ended up with an 8-week campaign period and having the elections next week. And now we have the referendum, and we have 2,500 new voters that are all able to vote because of those from the decisions made by ourselves. So I hope I answered that properly for you. It was a difficult decision for us, but as usual, when we sat down to discuss it, it was country first, because we were the best party. We were the party in the best position to benefit from an early election. The other two parties weren't even registered. They would not have gotten registered in time, most likely. So we were in the best position to win an early election, and we considered it, but we felt that for love of country and to put country first, we would take the route of supporting and ensuring that no one was disenfranchised from voting, and that the business of the country, important business of the country, could be carried out.
Okay. I have one more question from our listeners. This person says, when the Auditor General mentioned in her report that all the concessions that have been given away, the Caymanians have nothing to show for it. They want to know, did that include when the PPM government was in power?
That is the concessions that were given by the PPM government in the early days, 2013 period, when we were facing real financial problems and the economy was in the doldrums. That was based on import duties, which was import duties on renovations of the Marriott and the Westin.
Okay.
So it was import duties, and they had to carry out, it was $30 and $50 million respectively, carry out those renovations before they got the concessions. And then also they had to have 60% Caymanians working on the sites. So we did receive reports every quarter, I think it was.
Every month, actually.
Every month.
Yeah.
We receive reports every month outlining that there was 60% or more Caymanians working on the sites.
Okay.
So that was, I know that we had discussions with some others that never materialized because of COVID. I understand from the Auditor General's report that there was the same sort of agreement had been made. These were new bills, but they also were supposed to have 60% Caymanians on the sites. I didn't know that they couldn't find any. I won't say that, but I did read where the Auditor General said that was the supposed agreement that they had as well, that there should be 60% Caymanians on site. And I think those are probably also done. The only place you can give concession is on import duties. You can't on planning. By law, you can't on planning fees, etc. But import duties is the one. So you would actually have to start construction and start importing stuff before you can actually get those concessions. On those types of deals, the NRA agreement is a completely different one, I think. But that is as far as I know. And it's interesting that the members and many members of the PAC government really focused on campaigning against us on the concessions front. But when, just like the campaign that and literally ended up forcing us to call an early election because of Mr. Bush, but then they after ended up choosing to work with him to form a government. Mm-hmm. So we have seen a lot of, let us just call it compromises on their part when it's convenient. But, I want to thank you again for letting us come in here today to address the misinformation that's being put out there, which is obviously being done in tandem between the two parties. And again, we'll take that as a compliment that they must feel threatened by us and have decided to join up with each other. But I wanted to thank you for arranging to give us a time to come on to address those matters.
Before you go, we see that immigration is almost first and foremost on everyone's manifesto, and at least in their campaign speeches as well. I would imagine that whatever administration is in place after the election, that several large projects, at least probably one, I think it's the Hyatt Grand or something like that.
Hyatt.
Grand Hyatt is likely to come online, which will mean more and more workers being needed. Will steps be taken if your party assumes the administration? Will steps then be taken immediately to address the concerns that Caymanians have about immigration and the work status of Caymanians? Because you're looking at a project that is going to require workers, whether or not they come from within, and if they come from within, it means that someone is going to be shortchanged, as well. But it is something that will have to be addressed. Otherwise, the situation becomes even more compound.
Yeah, but I thank you, O.C. And yes, there's a lot of information in our manifesto, and I'm cognizant of the time because I'm supposed to be somewhere right now, and I want Mr. McTaggart to be able to wrap up his thoughts as well. But we have put it out there. The things that we can speak to quickly in a few seconds is enforcement, right? We feel that there greater support and emphasis needs to be given on work and CBC, because not only are we seeing and have evidence of persons working outside of their work permits, persons being having to pay for their work permits and also having their passports withheld from them, and they have to pay part of their salary to these folks. But we also see people overstaying. It's coming out in the press. Every time they do a raid, they find people that are overstaying 10 years and more. So we have to provide the support for them and put the emphasis on enforcement to begin with. Secondly, we do have to look at the point system. We have to first address what does it take to become a PR resident, because once you become PR, you are obviously then on a trajectory on a way to status. We have to work with our businesses to ensure that Caymanians not only are hired and employed, but also receive the training on the job to move up the ladder as well. We also have to work with with the private sector to ensure that they have, in particular in tourism, that they have the workforce that they need to provide the level of service that we are accustomed to providing to our guests. So it's not going to be easy, O.C. It is going to require, and we will appeal to the private sector to work with us. Don't let us work against you. Work with us to resolve these issues, and then we can all move forward from there. But it is certainly first and one of the top priorities in our administration, or for our administration.
Okay, Mr. McTaggart.
Well, I see we're out of time, but I just want to go back to what we were talking about with the concessions, OC, and try to put to rest something that's always said, that Caymanians don't get any sort of breaks or anything, and that really is not true, because I can tell you, my 4 years as Minister of Finance, I approved significant concessions to Caymanians. Throughout a year, it could be as much as $8 to $10 million. Now, most of those concessions came to people who, were looking to buy a home, but who missed or did not completely qualify for the first-time Caymanian buyer homes, or they were over the limit in some way. And they would always write and ask me to exercise a just judgment to allow them to realize their dream. And I routinely gave those sorts of concessions. And my email inbox was full of.
But are they referring to concessions that Caymanians get, or are they saying that the concessions that are given to developers that they don't trickle down to Caymanians?
There's a little bit of both, I think. But, if again, some of the developers, by a proper definition, are Caymanian, and some by birth are Caymanian. Yeah. The other thing is I remember us doing concessions for persons, Caymanians opening medical offices. I remember us doing concessions for Caymanians going into manufacturing. I think one was doing some metal manufacturing of some sorts. So they were, they just, those sorts of concessions don't attract the naysayers or don't become political. So we always focus on the ones that, gets the biggest bang for the buck on the headline, or you can use in a political campaign or something. But we often did provide concessions. I actually clearly remember saying, oh gosh, when I first got elected and these concession requests came in for Caymanians doing little projects and manufacturing and stuff, I said, man, when I built the FedEx building, I wish I knew that. Because that would have helped me out a lot, But, so, yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much. 1 week and change to go, 8 days to go.
Yep.
And we'll
see you, though. We'll be back in.
Oh, great. Excellent. Folks, that is all for today. I just want to say have a great day. Please be careful on our roads. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, and the life you save may just be your own.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Talk Today is also brought to you by Mike's Builders. Call